Welcome all to our sixth webinar in our series regarding this amazing partnership between University of Dayton School of Law and Mackenzie Presbyterian University. We are proud to have tonight with us three important and outstanding guests. We will have with us Professor Victoria Van Zandt, who is Assistant Dean for the hybrid JD program at the University of Dayton. So she will be talking about a current, up-to-date, and ongoing subject and topic that is about online legal education in the United States. After, we will have Professor Margaret Ioannis to take questions about our program, and we will have Monica Hayes, a Brazilian student, alumni from the online LLM program, and also the first bar examination. He was approved in DC, Washington, DC, to share her experience and the roadmap towards our students and faculty members. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Professora Mariana Baeta, also to be part of this session. Without further ado, Professor Victoria Van Zandt, please be our guest.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here this evening. I'm excited to talk to you about our University of Dayton School of Law presentation and our online JD program, as well as right here, there we go, the future of the law, so online legal education in the United States. So if I were doing this presentation several years ago, my presentation would have been very short because online legal education in the United States really didn't exist several years ago. We had what I call a late adopter status, and what I mean by that is we did not adopt online education for two basic reasons. First, there were restrictions imposed by the American Bar Association. And that's important because the American Bar Association, or the ABA, is the main accreditor of law schools in the United States. And all law schools want to be approved by the ABA. Because in order to sit for a bar in the United States and become licensed, like Monica is, if you attend a JD program, it has to be ABA approved. And the ABA has restrictions on how many online credits a school can offer. So for a long time, they had very, very strict limits on the number of credits that could be offered online. That's one reason that schools did not adopt online education. The second reason is tradition. So the field of law is a very traditional area and a very traditional discipline. Back in 1870, over 150 years ago, Christopher Columbus Langdell at Harvard set out the model for legal education in the United States. And all across the United States, if I were to go to any law school, you'd see about the exact same thing. Students gather in a large lecture hall of 100 students, typically in a class. There's one professor engaging in the Socratic dialogue with one student, asking questions about cases. There were no tests, no quizzes, and one final exam worth 100% of your grade. That's how all law schools were set up. So they're very traditional. And in that scenario, there were no Zoom classes, there was no asynchronous content. So there was this real hesitancy to adopt online education. But things are changing. And so the ABA, as of 2018, started to loosen its restrictions on how many credits a law school could offer. So in the United States, a traditional JD program is 3 years long. And now the ABA has said one of those years, or 1/3 of a student's credits, can be online. Also, the COVID-19 pandemic had people now who said you can't teach law school online. Now every law professor in the United States and every law student in the United States was online the last year and a half. So now that traditionalism is starting to accept more online education. But even with all of that, at the University of Dayton School of Law, we were ahead of that curve. We adopted an online JD program. The ABA approved us as an experimental program. Our program started in 2019. Only 4 law schools in the United States operate as an ABA-approved online or hybrid JD program. Our program is 11 semesters. It's a part-time program. And our curriculum, we're really focused on making sure that our students have all of the courses that they need to pass a bar, or what's called the Uniform Bar Exam, which is a standardized exam in many states in the United States. And we want to know that not only can our students pass the bar, but once they pass the bar, that they can practice law. So we have a lot of practice-ready skills embedded in the curriculum. A quick look at our curriculum. We have the traditional doctrine that you're going to see in any law school. So students take torts and real property, criminal law, all those doctrinal classes that teach you about the law in the United States. But in addition to having those foundational courses, like I said, we want to make sure that students have the skills they need. So we have several legal research and writing courses, which I teach in the program. Our students also do trial practice. They learn interviewing skills. They have to take either an externship or a clinic. So we really want to make sure that they're practice ready and have that experiential learning before they go out and practice. In addition to having the doctrine, the foundational material, the skills, we also make sure that the academic support is there for our students as well. So the students have a learning skills lab that teaches them how to do law school, because it's new and it's different than any other discipline in the United States. And then if certain students are maybe lagging behind a little bit, we have some courses that help get their skills up to where they need to be. Our classes are intentionally designed to be online. So I think what we struggle against is that with the COVID-19 pandemic, so many courses were put online in kind of a pandemic teaching style, is a nice way to put it. They weren't intentionally designed to be online. Our courses are. All of our courses have 3 components because we thought if you had to put legal education online, we wanted to take the best of all worlds. So we wanted synchronous sessions, weekly synchronous sessions, just like here we're meeting in teams, where we're meeting at the same time and place. We also wanted our students to have weekly asynchronous coursework, where the students are separated by us from space and time. They're working at their own speed, but they have to finish that content before they come to the weekly live sessions. But then we also felt it was extremely important for our students to have a residential component, where they come to campus and collaborate and network as a team in person. And we call those the Get Real Weeks, which is the Get Relevant Experience and Applied Learning Week. This is where students come onto campus, meet each other, and do hands-on stuff. So for example, as I said earlier, I teach the legal research and writing courses. So when my students come on campus that semester, we go down into the library so we can search with the books and they can actually get their hands on books, because that's one thing that's really hard to do in the virtual world, is to get your hands on books and go into a library. So we do stuff like that. We have them interview clients when they're here on campus, but it also allows them to become part of the larger UD community by meeting some of the residential students as well. So talking a little bit about the 3 types of classes, the synchronous classes are very similar to a face-to-face class, just as if they were sitting in a lecture hall. They meet 1 night a week. We use Zoom. And those classes, like I said, are very similar to a face-to-face class. The professor engages in a Socratic dialogue with the students on the screen. I would argue that it's even a little bit better. And why is because now, instead of students being able to hide in the back row, there is no back row. Every student is a small little square on the screen. They can't hide, but then the professor can engage all students. Typically, if you're in a classroom, I'm not able to call on all students in 1 hour. But now, by using the different features in Zoom or whatever conferencing they may be using, they can poll students, they can do breakout rooms and stuff like that. So there is a lot more engagement in the synchronous classes than there might be in a large lecture hall. Additionally, all our classes are recorded, so the students can go back and watch those Zoom sessions. They have a transcript, which is searchable, so they can find if this professor was talking about proximate cause, for example, and they wanted to refresh their recollection of what was that about, they can go back and search the transcript and find, instead of sitting through a 2-hour lecture, they can jump back in, find exactly where the professor was talking about that. So I would argue the synchronous classes online, we've been able to improve on what has already been done traditionally for 150 years. With the asynchronous coursework, again, that's the coursework that the students do the week before they come to the weekly live class. They do it at their own time and their own pace. But we wanted to make sure that it wasn't static content. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't just static text or static videos that they were watching. We really wanted them to engage with the course outside of the classroom. So now we have students answering questions, uploading videos, responding to each other's prompts in a forum. Additionally, we wanted to make sure that they really complement the live sections. There's got to be a bridge between what they're doing with the professor one night a week and what they're doing in the asynchronous work. So they really have to have that synergy or connection for it to make sense to students. One thing that we've done here at UD is we've incorporated what I call a simulated Socratic dialogue in the asynchronous coursework. And this is probably one of the, as we would say, feather in our caps, or one of the highlights of our program. We've taken the traditional Socratic dialogue where a professor is asking a student about the facts in the holding of a case, but we've put it into the asynchronous world. And the way that that works is my online students watch a video of the professor engaging in a Socratic dialogue with a student on the screen. They're listening just as they would if they were in a large classroom. But then all of a sudden, the professor will stop the video and she will turn to the students who are my online students and say, how would you answer this question? Every student then has to either type in an answer or upload a video of them answering the question. So now every student is engaged in that Socratic dialogue. If they'd been sitting in a large lecture hall, they would just be listening to the professor ask the questions to the student. They wouldn't be responding. Now they all respond. They get to see each other's responses. So there's an accountability there where the professor can see what they put in, and so can all of their classmates. It addresses one of the major flaws of the Socratic method, which is that the students aren't engaged when they listen to someone else being questioned. Now they're required to be engaged. We have three main goals with our program. One of them is to reach students where they are. Because of family or work obligations, many students can't attend a traditional residential 3-year program. Geographically, they may be far away from a part-time or a full-time program. The students that are in our program now come from all 50 states. Many of them are full-time working professionals. For example, I have one student who's a consultant with the United States Air Force. He will Zoom into my class when he's on an airplane sometimes. So we're able to meet students where they are and give them the degree that they want. The people whose dream was to go to law school, but they couldn't do it before now because there wasn't a flexible program that would allow it. Our second main goal is to incorporate web-based technologies to enhance the distance learning experience. We take a residential course and make it better. Like I said, we addressed the flaws of the Socratic method and made sure that now in the Zoom sessions, the Socratic method is even stronger because the professor can poll all students so they're engaged. And then, like I said, in the asynchronous content, we've taken the Socratic dialogue and allowed all students to engage by using those round tables or the simulated Socratic dialogue. And last, we wanted to improve legal education generally. As I said, these courses were intentionally developed to be online courses. Our faculty members take 9 to 12 months to develop a course. They start at the very beginning with learning outcomes. What is it I want my students to know, do, and value by the end of this course? Then they build the course around that. They work with course strategists and course designers to really build a strong course where they intentionally think, should this be something that I put in the asynchronous content, the synchronous content, or do I leave it for Get Real Week when the students are here on campus? So they're intentional every step of the way. And what has really helped us, We're improving online legal education, but what we like is that many of the things that our professors have done, they've imported into their residential classrooms. So the things of the higher engagement with their students, they're now doing in their residential classrooms as much as they can by the lessons they've learned in the online space. So that's kind of a recap of what online legal education is in the United States. It's new, it's exciting, it's changing every day, and we are fortunate to have been kind of a front runner in this experience. So I thank you for allowing me to present and talk to you today.
Thank you, Professor Victoria. We can open, what do you think, Margaret, the floor for questions?
That
we have
sounds great.
some candidates here that sure will be interested in the nuts and bolts about the tools that are available.
Sure, we can open up for some questions and answers regarding Professor Van Sant's presentation.
Would someone be willing to?
I think they might be more interested in your program, Margaret.
Well, they've heard me speak before, so you know you're you're the new speaker here.
Okay, then Professor Margaret.
Thank you, Pedro. Well, I'll go ahead and follow up. And you know, as participants have any questions, please feel free to unmute your microphones. You can ask, or you can use the chat as well. I believe Professor Van Sant will be with us through the end of today's webinar, so we can certainly field some additional questions. Many of you already know me by now. I actually recognize a number of the participants who have already applied for the program, so thank you for taking the time to join us. For those of you whom I haven't met yet, I'm Margaret Ioannidis, the director for the online LLM program at University of Dayton School of Law. I wanted to build on the presentation that Professor Van Sant gave. Her focus was on the JD degree, which is the traditional first degree in law in the United States. It is traditionally a 3-year program. And as she mentioned, University of Dayton is really on the forefront and the cutting edge, being one of only a handful of schools that has the American Bar Association's approval to offer the JD program online. The focus of my presentation will be on the LLM degree, which is a Master of Laws degree, and our focus is in American and transnational law. LLM degrees require that students have already completed their first degree in law, whether that is the Juris Doctor degree that Professor Van Sant discussed, or whether it is a LLB or a Bacharel degree from Brazil. All of those would qualify as a first degree in law. And after that, students might seek to pursue their master's degree in law. Now, Professor Van Sant mentioned that University of Dayton School of Law is an ABA accredited law school. And I would say that one of the requirements for those of you who are interested in pursuing the LLM in order to qualify for bar admission in certain states in the US is that that LLM degree be offered by an American Bar Association accredited US law school. So I guess we will start there, that UDSL is accredited by the American Bar Association, and historically the university offered an LLM degree on campus in American and transnational law. Starting in 2019, and actually with us today is one of our first students, Monica Hayes, we began offering the LLM degree fully online. And so unlike the JD program that Professor Van Sant discussed, our online LLM is 100% online and asynchronous. We do have optional synchronous sessions through Zoom that we use for professors to have office hours or review sessions with students, but anything that is mandatory for the course is offered in an asynchronous format. Simple reason for that is that we do have students all over the world and in different time zones, And so being able to offer things in an asynchronous format really allows us to use technology and the online format to expand the accessibility of the program to students who are all over the world. We do incorporate those synchronous components as optional sessions so that those students that are really interested in having that opportunity for live interaction with their professors and classmates are able to do so. Most of the students who are in our online LLM program are foreign educated or non-US educated law school graduates. And so their interest in pursuing the LLM degree is to be able to get a better understanding of US law and legal practice, better understanding of common law, and then potentially qualifying for a bar exam and license in the United States. So just taking one step back, bar licensure in the US is determined on a state-by-state basis. In the US, we have federal laws, we have state laws, and so each state determines the admission requirements. And in terms of those admission requirements, they look to the legal education requirement. That's one of the components that goes into bar admission. So when we look at our online LLM degree and bar eligibility, we've reviewed which bars will allow foreign educated law school graduates to apply for bar admission in the United States and what legal education and supplemental legal education is required through an ABA approved US law school. So in doing that research, we know that California and Washington State are two bar options for our students. As Monica will also discuss, there are other possibilities as well, and those are really determined on a case-by-case basis. But our program does have a curriculum focused on US law, focused on the bar-tested subjects, as well as skills development, and has alignment, we know, with California and Washington. So as Professor Pedro has mentioned, we are very excited about our partnership with Mackenzie University. Through this partnership, we've been able to offer benefits to students and graduates from Mackenzie University that are generally not available if somebody were to independently reach out and be interested in the program. So first, for those of you who are pursuing your bachelorette degree, you are able to get an early start to the LLM program. So you are able, taking advantage of the fully online asynchronous format, you can start your LLM degree while still pursuing your law degree at Mackenzie. And so potentially you are able to then complete both degrees within just a matter of even a few months of each other. For those of you who are in master's programs or postgraduate programs, you are also able to pursue the LLM degree with us and benefit from this partnership. Under either scenario, we also offer credit recognition for coursework that has been completed through your law studies at Mackenzie. So students are able to apply up to 10 credits towards the LLM degree. That means that you are able to earn the LLM degree with only 8 courses rather than 12 courses, which is what everyone else would have to take, and that corresponds to a total of 20 rather than 30 credits. So normally it would take students 3 semesters or 1 year to complete the program. Under the partnership, if students wanted to complete as quickly as possible, they'd be able to do so within as little as 8 months. In addition, we're offering a guaranteed scholarship. And so for students starting in our upcoming August term, and we're very close at this point, and the deadline is next Friday, July 30th. If you've applied, that's great. If you haven't, there's still a small window to be able to submit your application for the fall. Our next semester begins in January, and for either of those 2 semesters, we are offering a guaranteed scholarship that is applied per credit and reduces the net tuition paid to $475 per credit. So you're able to complete the LLM degree for approximately $9,500 US, and that's paid over the course of your study. So every semester, you pay tuition based upon how many credits in which you're enrolled. I've included the curriculum here. You'll see the 12 courses. In green font are those courses that are required. Even with that credit recognition that we are providing, students do have to complete these 5 courses. These were selected because, well, Introduction to U.S. Law establishes a foundation for all of our incoming students. The other 4 courses that are in green font are specifically required by the Washington State Bar, so we want to make sure that students have completed those requirements. You're then able to select your electives from the remaining courses that are listed here. So our deadline is July 23rd, although we have extended it for 1 more week, so through July 30th, and our next semester begins on August 23rd. I've included my contact information here, as well as the contact information for my colleague Walter Hawes, who's worked very closely both with Mackenzie University as well as with the students who are interested in applying for the program under this partnership. So please feel free to reach out to either of us with any of your questions. We also would love to invite you to our Law in the Americas webinar series. We do have our next webinar scheduled for August 19th. This is free and open to the public. And this is part of our monthly series where we invite thought leaders from law schools in the Americas to discuss different legal issues. And so our upcoming webinar on August 19th will relate to copyrights and COVID vaccines. So if you're interested in learning more or registering, please visit our website. And so now I think the person everyone's been waiting to hear from is one of our very first students, and certainly our first graduate to pass the bar exam, Monica Hayes, is with us this evening. I've copied and I've included Monica's email address here, and she's graciously offered if anybody wants to reach out to her directly that they're able to do so. So with that, Monica, I'd like to turn things over to you.
Thank you, Margaret. It is such an honor to be here today talking to you and to my Brazilian peers and colleagues. It's really great. I think my message here today for the students and prospective students for this program is that this is really doable. It is a great program. The LLM program really helped me understand the differences between the civil and common law legal systems, which is the biggest difference we have as Brazilian attorneys. And being able to understand the system here, it's the first step to be able to either practice here or sit for the bar, or if you're not interested in both, also using that knowledge to work locally in Brazil with so many international law offices and companies, international companies in Brazil, requiring attorneys to have more of a global vision, a global understanding. And of course, the US is such a big market for Brazilian and international corporations. So really, there's no downside on doing this program. I chose UDayton back then. I didn't know it was the first class, but I was glad to be within the first students in the program. Margaret was a great guide and advisor for me in the beginning because of the flexibility. At the time, I was living in Dayton, Ohio, and I could do it presentially, but I have 2 kids, and me and my family, we move around a lot. So for me, flexibility was really important. It was one of the biggest reasons that I chose UDayton. But in the end, it paid off much more than for the flexibility, but for the quality of the program. It was really a great base for the bar exam and for all the work that I've been doing in the United States since I graduated and I passed the bar. While I was studying for the bar and doing my prep course, there was nothing in the prep course that I did not see during the LLM program, which was really good because I was not expecting that. I was expecting to have some subjects or some material that I didn't see in the LLM course, but that was not the case. So it really turned out to be a great program, and that's why I was honored to join U Dayton in this effort to bring more students and to bring that quality of this type of flexible online system to reach more students around the globe, including Brazil. So I'm available, as Margaret said, to anyone that wants to question or ask me anything about the whole process, how was for me studying. And I did the bar prep and the bar exam while I was doing my last semester with U Dayton, looking out at all jurisdictions, all options, like Margaret said, California, Washington State, and I end up sitting for the bar exam in DC, the District of Columbia, which was not an option when I started. But as Margaret mentioned as well, each jurisdiction has its own rules, and that changes, and they do get information from your background, so they do a case-by-case analysis. So we want to advise students to always reach out to the jurisdiction to make sure they're eligible. So there's opportunities and there's options out there that are not just Washington and California. Those are the certain ones. But for sure, I'm available to help you out and answer any questions that you might have about how was the whole process for me. And I thank you again, Margaret and Walter and Professor Pedro, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Monica, for joining. And for those of you who are planning on joining the program in the upcoming semester, you'll be pleased to know that Monica is also working with us as an online LLM coordinator. So she not only will be working with us in terms of webinars and recruiting efforts and talking with prospective students, but also when you're in the program, if you want a peer that you can talk to, somebody who understands where you're coming from, who's gone through the process, she will also be an additional resource that you can reach out to. Of course, you can reach out to me. We encourage you to reach out to your professors as well. But what we've found is that sometimes students like to talk to fellow students or upper class students as well. And so Monica has graciously joined our efforts. And so we're so happy to have you, Monica, not only tonight, but also joining us longer term. So I see you back on camera, Pedro, so I guess I will turn things back over to you.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you, Monica, for sharing your experience.
You're welcome.
Let us open down the floor for our students to see if they have any questions. It can be put in a written form in the chat, or you can just call for raise the hand and ask it orally. Or you can maintain yourselves in your without questions. Johanna.
Hi, teacher. Sorry. So right now, my question is to Monica, just to ask her how long this should take to complete the program, because I know you can take 1, 2, or 3 years. So I just want to I'm curious about how long this should take.
Sure. Hi, Johanna. Nice to meet you.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
I should say boa noite for everyone. We didn't say one word in Portuguese, you all.
I know.
So, Johanna,
we're trying to practice our English a little bit more.
There you go. That's good as well. So when I started my first semester, and Margaret's here to correct me if I'm wrong, but we were only allowed to do one course of 2 credits. And after that, the course was picking up and we were able to add more courses. So I did the fastest that I could as the program was when I started. And I started in January 2019 and I finished in August 2020. So it took me 1.5 years, but only because of that. The program was starting, so we didn't have all the courses available as you will have now. And then the next semester I had another 2 courses, and then they were releasing courses as the program was developing. So I did in the shortest time that was possible when I started, but I know that now you could do it, especially with the compensation of the credits, in as little as 8 months, as Margaret mentioned. But in my situation was a little bit different. That's why I sat for the bar exam in October 2020. So since April 2020, I started doing the bar prep course along with my last semester with U Dayton. So I did it parallel, and it was a little bit crazy. I don't know if I would advise want to do that in the middle of the pandemic, COVID hitting 2 kids at home, but it worked out.
You're Superwoman.
We're all superheroes, let's just say that, and we try our best. And I'm sure you guys with the background from Mackenzie, I have a nephew that graduated from Mackenzie Law School in 2015. I know Mackenzie from many years ago.
It's the greatest.
So I'm not gonna say how many years. I don't wanna, give you any hints on my age. But yes, so I don't think you guys will have any trouble finishing in, let's say, 1 year or 8 months this program. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for your explanation.
Of course.
And my next question, Margaret, I don't know if you can answer me right away because I think it's a complicated question, but if you can help me, I'll be really happy. So I was just wondering if, even though the course is fully online, if you the University of Dayton, they provide you an I-20 to be able to study from United States, even though the program is online. So I don't know if I was clear.
Yep, no, you are very clear, and I unfortunately can't answer in Portuguese, so but I can answer the question. And so the quick answer is no, an I-20 would not be available since the program is 100% online. Now, longer term, if there are any students who might want to spend a semester on campus and take courses on campus, then there could be that possibility where you would then have to apply for the F1 visa, and in conjunction with that, be able to get the I-20 issued. But that's a longer term process, and for that, if for on-campus study, there would not be the scholarship available, although we could still continue with the credit recognition. So we can work with students on an individual basis if that F1 and I-20 is something of interest. And I would also reinforce what Monica mentioned, and as Professor Van Sant said, when you're building out a fully online program, it takes months to develop the courses. And so, as Monica mentioned, when she started, we had just the one course that we offered, and then as she was working through the program, we were adding in more courses. And so right now we have all of the courses fully built and available for students, and so you could complete within 8 months. And for anyone who might be interested in that possibility of studying on campus, my understanding is there is a minimum 6 credit requirement in order to maintain your F1 visa status on campus. So again, if you would be interested in starting online and then completing certain courses and then evaluating that eligibility for on-campus study, just let me know and we can, map that out and see what it would look like.
Okay, thank you so much, Margaret.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I guess not. So I would like then to thank you all for being at our 6th webinar conference. Professor Van Sant, special thanks to you and also to Monica. It's great to hear that we will have such an important resource to support our students, even with a Portuguese language whenever necessary. Have a great Thursday and see you soon.